Hi, it's Sarah from Crafty Creatures, and today we are making our snow globe painting. We'll need a canvas panel, our large paper plate, our paints. We're going to need just the black to start, our paint brushes, a cup of water for washing our brushes, and a pencil and eraser. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to trace our paper plate on our canvas. Now we want to leave just a little gap at the top and a lot more of space at the bottom. So we're going to carefully trace around the outside of our plate, and that's going to be our snow globe. And once we've done that, we're going to add a little base to our snow globe. I made mine kind of like a big triangle with the top cut off. You can make yours kind of round, you can give yours a fun little scalloped edge. Just kind of look around at some of the snow globes you might have at home or have seen and think about what kind of bases they have. We also need to add a long straight line kind of beneath our base to be our ground line. Now you can follow along with what I'm drawing, or you can make your own design in your snow globe. If you're going to do your own design, I would say to sketch it out on some paper first. So I've added two sloping hills, and I'm drawing in a snowman that's fairly big. It's taking up a fair amount of the height of my snow globe. And I'm going in and I'm adding all my little details like my branches for arms, a carrot nose and a hat, and a little scarf. I'm also going to draw in a little cabin. Now I'm not getting super detailed with my little cabin because it's far away, so I'm just adding a little chimney and some smoke coming out, a little door and a window, and I might draw in a tree or two. And in the background, I'm just going to add some kind of zigzaggy triangle lines. These are going to be some pine trees that are far up in the distance, so I'm just kind of simplifying them. Now for our first step of our painting, we are going to fill in all the space around our snow globe that's not our ground line or our base with black paint. Now go very carefully around the edge of your snow globe. We want to keep the space within it really white and clean, because then it'll make it a lot easier to do our painting. Now you want to paint fairly smooth. This will help it dry better, you won't have as many big globs, and you won't lose so much paint. So once you've finished filling in the black, we're going to do our next two steps. So we're going to need our brown paint to start, as well as a bit of orange and white paint. So we're going to add some brown to the orange to make a little bit of a warmer, lighter brown color. And we're going to use this for the base of our snow globe. And again, just like with our background, we want to make sure we don't go over our globe itself. We want to keep that nice and clean. Then we're going to add a little bit of black to our regular brown to make it a slightly darker version. And we're going to fill in our ground line. This is going to be like a shelf that our snow globe is sitting on. If you want to add some fun little texture, take your little paintbrush and keep it very dry and just dip the very tips of your bristles into the black and just kind of brush it along the ground line or shelf. This will just add a bit of fun wood grain like texture. It's just a little bonus step. Now we're going to want to leave our painting to dry a bit. That way, as we paint our snow globe, we won't go over the edge and get a bunch of black paint through our snow globe. So now we're going to need the rest of our colors. And again, you can follow along with me, or you can do your own thing. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a light yellow. So that's a lot of white to a bit of yellow. And I'm going to make a nice band of this color along the top of my hills. I'm going to do a nice sunrise in my scene, so I want to start with this pretty yellow color. Don't worry too much if you go over the edge. With a light color, we'll be able to touch up the black later. So once you've added the yellow, it's time to clean your brush and we're going to mix another color. We're going to make a nice light pink, so a lot of white with just a tiny bit of red. Red is a very strong color, so we just want to add little bits at a time till we get the shade we want. I'm just going to add a nice narrow stripe of this color above our yellow. Now if you want, you can blend these two stripes together just by either going over the line in between them with some fresh yellow, or even just taking a clean, kind of wet paintbrush and just brushing along that dividing line. I'm not blending mine, but that's just a choice I'm making just to make it look a little different. So next we're going to add a little bit of blue or purple to that same pink to make a more of a pinky purple shade. This is just going to be a little bit different than our pink. That's why we're just adding our color to that. That way so they're fairly close. Now I'm making this band a little bit bigger than the other two. But you can make them all equal, but if you want to make them a little bit different, by this point we might want to be making them just a little bit bigger. So next we're going to make a light blue, so we're going to add a fair bit of white to a little bit of blue. I'm going to mix it together really, really well and add a touch of our purple to it. And then we're going to fill in about half of this space that we have left. So an even bigger stripe than our purple. Again, we want to paint nice and smooth. That way we can avoid all those big globs of paint. Now for our last stripe, we're just going to add a little bit more blue and a little bit more purple to make a darker shade to fill in just that little bit of the top of the sky we have left. And that we're done our sky, we're going to start painting our foreground. So we're going to add a lot of white to just a little bit of blue. We want to make a very, very light blue. We're going to use this color to fill in our snow. And the reason we're not leaving our snow white is at sunrise and sunset and even in the evening, our snow is not pure white. And especially in the shadows, we have a bit of bluish tone to it. And this is just going to help to define more of the space of our snow globe. So we're going to start with that far hill. We're going to paint in that hill with this color, and we're going to paint around our snowman. We're going to fill in the snowman and our foreground snow with an even lighter blue. We want to fill in that back hill first. Now we can add a bit of this color onto the shadows of our snowman and kind of underneath, just so we can have a bit of shading. Then we're going to make an even lighter blue, so we're going to add even more white, so it's even lighter, and then we're going to fill in the rest of our snow in our snowman. Once all that snow is filled in, we can just brush on a little bit more of our slightly darker blue onto our snowman's shadows, you know, along one side, under the scarf, that sort of thing. As well as a little bit, you know, here and there along the hill, just to add some depth to our snow. Now for one final touch of our snowman, let's make a really light yellow. And we'll just brush a little bit of this onto the highlights, so opposite of our shadows. This just adds a little bit of nice color depth to our snowman. Now we're going to start painting in our cabin. So we're going to start painting in just one of the sides with some nice brown paint. And we'll paint around our windows and our door. Next, we're going to make just a slightly darker brown. So we'll add just a little bit of black. And we're going to use this to paint in the other side of our cabin. This is the side that's kind of in shadow. So that's why we're painting it with a little bit of a darker color, just to give some dimension. I'm also using this color to paint in my front door, just so it looks a little different than the rest of my cabin. And I'm going to use some of this dark brown to paint in my roof as well, and then I'll paint in the shadowed part of the roof with just some straight black paint. I'll also use the black to fill in all the windows. Now we can start adding details to our snowman. So things like painting in orange for the carrot nose, and painting in, you know, any hats or scarves that you've added to your snowman. So I'm going to paint in the ribbon of my hat and my scarf with red paint. But this is just what I'm doing for my snowman. You can paint in your scarf and your details with different colors. These are just the ones that I'm going to use for mine. Now I'm going to paint in the rest of my hat with a dark gray or a black, because I want to make that nice top hat look. Now I'm going to add some little dots for the eyes and the mouth, as well as a couple little buttons. And I'm going to do that with black paint. And I'm going to use my brown to make the two sticks for the arms of my snowman. Next, I'm going to use some black to paint in my trees. So I'm going to paint my little empty tree that's over by the cabin. You know, it has no leaves on it because it's winter. And then I'm going to paint in those little zigzaggy triangles off in the distance that I drew for my little faraway forest. Again, I'm just going to paint these in with black because these are more silhouettes than they are super detailed trees. Next, I'm going to add some last little details like a little cloud of smoke for my chimney. And then I'm going to use another paintbrush and I'm just going to touch up some of my edges where I've gone over with some black paint. So for one last little bonus detail, we can add some white highlights, nice big chunky highlights, to one side of our snow globe and our base. And that's just a little bonus just to help make it look a little bit more glass-like. We can add a couple little thin lines along the other side for some rim lighting, as we call it. And then that's it. Good job, everybody. I'll see you next time with a new painting. Bye-bye.